Reports are surfacing that Colorado might have thrown a massive financial package on the table to bring Shedeur Sanders back to Boulder, and we're talking numbers that could change everything. The craziest part? Shedeur just showed up in Colorado out of nowhere, right when he's supposed to be locked in with the Cleveland Browns preparing for the Jets. Now look, before you click away thinking this is just another hype story, stick with me because what's actually happening behind the scenes is even more insane than the headlines. We've got secret agent connections, a conspiracy theory that's looking more real by the minute, and Cam Newton just threw Shedeur under the bus on national television. This story has more layers than you think, and by the end of this video, you're going to understand why Shedeur's next move could shake up the entire NFL.
Why are you here? Why are you here?
I know you need your son. I know you need some love and
I know
affection.
you need your dad.
I know you need some love and
You playing
affection.
today? Go get your stuff on. You playing
I
today?
know you need some love and affection, dog. You do. I know. You do too. You do too. You do too.
So let's break down what just happened, because this situation is absolutely wild. Shedeur Sanders, the Cleveland Browns' potential franchise quarterback, the guy they're supposedly grooming to save their organization, just packed his bags and flew back to Boulder, Colorado. Not next week. Not during the bye week. Right now, while his team is preparing for a crucial game against the New York Jets. Now, when you first see this, you're probably thinking the same thing everyone else is. Wait, what? Why would he leave Cleveland right now? And that's exactly the question Coach Prime asked him when he rolled up to the facility. You could see it in Deion's face, that mix of surprise and joy. The man looked at his son and said, "Why are you here? I know you need your son." And Shedeur? He just smiled. That genuine, comfortable smile of a man who's finally back where he belongs. But here's where the internet lost its mind. Social media started buzzing about potential offers from Colorado. People started throwing around numbers, big numbers. We're talking about the kind of money that could make anyone reconsider their situation. Now, I'm not here to confirm or deny specific dollar amounts, but what I am here to tell you is that something significant is happening behind the scenes. And Shedeur's surprise visit to Boulder is just the tip of the iceberg. Let me paint the full picture for you. Because this story goes way deeper than just a son visiting his dad. This is about loyalty, conspiracy, politics, and the ugly side of the NFL that nobody wants to talk about. You ready? Let's dive in. First things first, let's address the elephant in the room. Many people speculated that Shedeur wouldn't return to Boulder. Why? Because he was supposed to stay in Cleveland and prepare for the upcoming Jets game. That's what professionals do, right? You stay with your team. You grind. You prepare. But Shedeur made a different choice, and that choice is telling us everything we need to know about his current situation in Cleveland. Now, as of right now, Dillon Gabriel is still the starting quarterback for the Browns. Yeah, you heard that right. Dillon Gabriel, the guy who supposedly had the better training camp, is still getting the nod over Shedeur. And this is where things start to get real suspicious, real fast. Because while Shedeur is back in Boulder getting love from Coach Prime and the Colorado family, there's a massive conspiracy brewing in Cleveland that nobody in the mainstream media wants to touch. But we're going to expose it right here, right now. Let's talk about agents, baby. Specifically, let's talk about a man named Jimmy Sexton. Now, if you don't know who Jimmy Sexton is, let me educate you real quick. This man is one of the most powerful sports agents in the game. He represents coaches, players, and executives at the highest levels. And here's where it gets interesting. Jimmy Sexton represents both Dan Lanning, the Oregon head coach who coached Dillon Gabriel in college, and Kevin Stefanski, the current head coach of the Cleveland Browns. Let that sink in for a second. The same agent represents Dillon Gabriel's former college coach and Shedeur's current NFL coach. You don't think that's a conflict of interest? You don't think there might be some conversations happening behind closed doors that benefit certain people over others? Look, I'm not saying there's a full-blown conspiracy to keep Shedeur on the bench. What I am saying is that when you follow the money, when you follow the relationships, when you follow the connections between agents, coaches, and front office executives, things start to look real sketchy. Dan Lanning and Kevin Stefanski share the same agent. They're both under the same agency. You think they don't talk? You think Jimmy Sexton isn't in Kevin Stefanski's ear saying, "Hey, you know Dillon Gabriel is a great kid. He worked with Dan Lanning. He's ready. This is how the game works, people. This is the stuff that happens behind the scenes that fans never get to see. And when you're a young black quarterback like Shedeur Sanders, coming from a high-profile family with a famous father who doesn't play the politics game, you're already fighting an uphill battle. The establishment doesn't like outsiders. They don't like people who can't be controlled. And Shedeur Sanders, with Coach Prime as his father, represents everything the old guard of the NFL fears.
Now, that was Shedeur Sanders in Boulder, Colorado, man, as they get prepared. I'm wishing them guys nothing but luck. But here's some footage from a video that I did earlier today exposing the Dillon Gabriel conspiracy. For those of you guys who might not have seen it, let's roll the footage. I got to report on other news first. I didn't feel like...
So while all this agent drama is playing out in Cleveland, Shedeur does what any smart man would do. He goes back to his foundation. He goes back to Boulder. He goes back to the place where he was appreciated, where he was loved, and where he was actually allowed to showcase his talent without all the political nonsense. And when you watch that footage of him walking into the facility, when you see Coach Prime light up like a proud father, when you hear Dion say, "I know you need your dad. Man, I know you need some love and affection." That's real. That's genuine. That's not some manufactured moment for the cameras. Shedeur responded, "Feel good. Put my feet back on this carpet, man." You hear the relief in his voice. That's a man who's been dealing with stress, politics, and disrespect in Cleveland, finally getting a chance to breathe and remember what it feels like to be somewhere he's valued. But wait, there's more. Because while Shedeur is catching vibes in Boulder, former NFL MVP Cam Newton decided to hop on his podcast and throw some shade. Now, I respect Cam. I really do. The brother revolutionized the quarterback position and opened doors for guys like Shedeur. But on this one, Cam missed the mark, and I'm about to tell you why. Cam said, and I quote, "I don't know what's going on in Cleveland. I don't know what Shedeur Sanders is doing or is not doing, but change has to come on all levels, not just the quarterback position. Even with the climate of the talent or the skill set in Cleveland, I don't think Shedeur will be any better." What? Cam, my brother, with all due respect, you're tripping on this one. You're telling me that Shedeur Sanders, the same guy who broke college football records at Colorado, the same guy who showed poise under pressure week after week, the same guy who elevated a 1-11 program to national relevance, wouldn't be better than what we're seeing in Cleveland right now? Come on, man. Cam went on to say, "I don't believe in the talent that's around at the receiver position. I don't think they have enough." Okay, I'll give you that. The Browns' receiver room isn't exactly loaded with Pro Bowlers. But here's my counterargument. Shedeur made Travis Hunter look like a Heisman candidate. He made average receivers at Colorado look like legitimate NFL prospects. The man has a gift for elevating the players around him. That's what great quarterbacks do. And then Cam said the part that really got me heated. I would hate for Shedeur to be pointed at as, "I told you he ain't no different either," because when you look at the Cleveland Browns play, it's like, yo, it's not just bad quarterback play. It's bad football play offensively as a whole. Now see, this is where Cam reveals the real issue. He's worried about Shedeur's perception. He's worried about the narrative. He's worried that if Shedeur goes to Cleveland and struggles because of a terrible offensive line, a weak receiving core, and questionable play calling, people will blame him instead of the system. And you know what? Cam's not wrong to be concerned about that. But here's my take. Shedeur Sanders isn't afraid of challenges. He's not afraid of adversity. The man played behind one of the worst offensive lines in college football and still put up numbers. He dealt with constant criticism, constant doubt, and constant disrespect, and he still delivered. So when Cam says he doesn't think Shedeur would be any better in Cleveland, I have to respectfully disagree. Would Shedeur immediately turn the Browns into Super Bowl contenders? Probably not. But would he be better than what we're seeing right now with Dillon Gabriel and the current quarterback situation? Absolutely. Without question. No debate. And here's the thing that Cam and everyone else seems to be missing. It's not just about statistics. It's not just about wins and losses. It's about potential. It's about development. It's about giving a young quarterback the opportunity to learn, grow, and prove himself at the highest level. The Browns have been a quarterback graveyard for decades. They've cycled through dozens of signal callers, and none of them have worked out. You know why? Because they never commit. They never fully invest. They're always looking for the next shiny toy, the next quick fix, the next miracle solution. Shedeur represents something different. He represents stability. He represents leadership. He represents a quarterback who was groomed by one of the greatest athletes of all time. Coach Prime didn't just teach his son how to throw a football. He taught him how to handle pressure, how to deal with criticism, how to be a professional, and how to lead men. Those intangibles matter. Those qualities separate good quarterbacks from great ones. Now, let's get back to this Boulder visit, because there's more to this story than just a nostalgic trip down memory lane. Think about the timing. Think about the optics. Think about what message Shedeur is sending by being there right now. He's not running away from Cleveland. He's not giving up on the Browns. What he's doing is reminding everyone, including the Browns front office, that he has options. He has leverage. And he has a support system that goes beyond whatever political games are being played in that organization. You see? This is the part of the story that the mainstream media doesn't want to talk about because it exposes how dirty this business really is. The NFL is not a meritocracy. It's not about who's the best player. It's about who has the right connections, who plays the political game correctly, and who fits into the system that the powers that be want to maintain. Shedeur Sanders doesn't fit that mold. He's too independent. His father is too powerful. His brand is too big. And that scares people.so when rumors start swirling about Colorado potentially making a move to bring Shedeur back, whether it's through nil deals, coaching opportunities, or some other creative arrangement. You better believe the Browns are paying attention. You better believe Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry are having conversations about how to handle this situation. Because if Shedeur walks away from Cleveland, if he decides that the politics and the disrespect aren't worth it, that makes the Browns look terrible. It makes them look like they fumbled yet another quarterback situation. And let's keep it real. The Browns need Shedeur more than Shedeur needs the Browns. There are 32 teams in the NFL. There are college programs that would love to have his involvement. There are media opportunities, business ventures, and alternative paths for a guy with his talent and his platform. But for the Browns, they're desperate. They're a laughingstock. They're a franchise that's been irrelevant for years. And they finally had a chance to land a potential franchise quarterback. And they're playing games with his development. This brings me to my next point. And this is important. Shedeur returning to Boulder isn't just about football. It's about family. It's about foundation. It's about remembering where you came from and who had your back when things were tough. Coach Prime built something special at Colorado. He took a program that was completely dead and brought it back to life. He did that with Shedeur as his general on the field. They went through battles together. They faced criticism together. They proved doubters wrong together. That bond doesn't just disappear because Shedeur got drafted to the NFL. If anything, that bond becomes even more important when you're dealing with the pressures and politics of professional football. So when Shedeur walked into that facility and Coach Prime said, "You playing today?" With that playful smile, that wasn't just a joke. That was a father reminding his son that he still has a home, that he still has a place where he's unconditionally supported, and that no matter what happens in Cleveland, the Colorado family will always be there. Now, let's address the Dillon Gabriel situation one more time, because this is where the conspiracy gets even deeper. Throughout training camp, we heard nothing but praise for Dillon Gabriel. Dillon's having a great camp. Dillon looks sharp. Dillon's ahead of schedule. The media coverage was relentless. It was like they were trying to manifest Dillon Gabriel into being the starter through sheer force of repetition. But here's what nobody wants to acknowledge. Maybe Dillon Gabriel was pushed to the front because it benefited certain people's relationships and career prospects. Maybe the decision had less to do with who performed better and more to do with who had the right connections. Dan Lanning has the same agent as Kevin Stefanski. That's not speculation, that's a fact. Jimmy Sexton represents both of them. And if you don't think that creates a situation where Dillon Gabriel gets preferential treatment, then you don't understand how this business works. That I'm not saying Dillon Gabriel is a bad quarterback. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve opportunities. What I am saying is that when the deck is stacked against you from the beginning, when the politics are working against you before you even step on the field, it's damn near impossible to get a fair shake. And that's exactly what's happening to Shedeur in Cleveland. So what happens next? That's the million-dollar question. Does Shedeur eventually get his shot with the Browns? Does he force his way into the starting lineup with his performance in practice? Or does he explore other options, whether that's a trade, a return to Colorado in some capacity, or a different path altogether?
about this gentleman, Jimmy Sexton. Jimmy Sexton is a sports agent, and he's the current agent of Dan Lanning and Kevin Stefanski. Now, with that being said, you know, what does an agent do? You know, um,
The reality is this. Shedeur Sanders is going to be a successful quarterback at the next level. Whether it's with the Browns, another NFL team, or through some unconventional path that we haven't even considered yet, the man has too much talent, too much intelligence, and too much support to fail. The only question is whether Cleveland recognizes what they have before it's too late. So here's what I want you to do. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think. Do you believe Shedeur should stay patient with the Browns and wait for his opportunity? Or should he explore other options if the Dillon Gabriel conspiracy continues? Do you think Cam Newton was right to question whether Shedeur would be better in Cleveland? And most importantly, what do you think about these agent connections between Dan Lanning, Kevin Stefanski, and Jimmy Sexton? Is that a legitimate concern, or am I reading too much into it? This story is far from over, and I'll be tracking every development as it happens. If you want to stay updated on Shedeur Sanders, the Browns quarterback drama, and all the behind-the-scenes politics that the mainstream media won't cover, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're just getting started, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Until next time, shake the haters off. Peace.